What's going on, guys? I just want to do very quickly a check into our basketball uh, team because this is the final week of it, and we just got hit with the injury bug tremendously bad. We never were at full strength. I don't think there was a single week of where we had three of our first three picks playing at the same time all season.
I don't think we did. Like, really, like, I go back and look, and I don't honestly see that. If everyone's playing, I don't see a flaw with, like, Lillard playing well, Beal playing well, Franz playing well for Orlando, Kawhi, like, Brandon Ingram, we know. And then, but you're right, like, I think half our team's been injured half the year, and it's been most of our top guys, Kawhi being out, Beal being out, Lillard missing time, Jalen Green. And then the rest of our team is a lot of young players that took time to get going and are inconsistent.
2 months out. Sengun's finally looking good too. I mean,
yeah, like we have great pieces around.
But we kind of knew that was going to happen.
Matherin's coming on for Indiana without Halliburton.
I think we drafted this team for that late push. Like we drafted the veterans like a Lillard. Because we thought Lillard got something to prove. He's got a chip on his shoulder with Portland. I thought Phillips coming in would have a chip on his shoulder. I thought Ingram would continue to develop. I thought Ingram was primed to have like his best career ever. And like I knew Leonard was a risky pick because of the load management. But I'm not even talking about load management. We got like legit injuries. Like John Wall has been out for months. Like Beal was legit hurt. Like had we had any kind of consortium of guys and some kind of link, I think we've been all right. But like we were lucky sometimes to have one star player, like one of our first 5 picks playing on a single night. It was just incredibly unfortunate in some ways, because I do think like now our team is feared. Like I was going back through it a couple days ago, and we were like, if you look at like week 15, 14, and 13, we're like second, first, third. Like now we're a dangerous team, but it ends in like just a mere couple days. But I don't mind it. Like. And I wanted to be transparent and show you guys, because you guys might have seen that draft we did about a few months ago. But I don't mind losing in this way because injuries are part of the game. This is that luck variance where I just like don't even. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I expect these things to happen from time to time, so I don't put much weight into them. I still think our management was good.
I agree. Like,
yeah,
the injury bug killed us, and like,
yeah, we got hit with the risk. I mean, we just had to swallow the risk this season doing it for NBA. I mean, we got shot down by the risk, but the management of this team, I think, was very smart. Even taking a chance on a veteran that might have got signed late to be a difference maker in the playoffs, because you guys know everyone might have the same team or a very similar team when it comes to advancing higher. So we took some chances on a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, who might show up for a team in the playoff run. I thought this team was well constructed between we're going to take veterans, we're going to take some young guys, and then we're going to take some, dart throws. And I think that's what you got to do. It just didn't work out for us this time.
Well, and Kawhi took how long to start playing?
That's part of what we're saying. It's like Kawhi, Lillard, Beal, Ingram. Our first 4 picks didn't play half of the season of the best ball. They didn't play half this best ball season.
Yeah, it was.
And then the rest of our team was built around guys like Mathurin, Duren, Franz, second-year guy, young players who were going to come upon themselves, but we knew they weren't going to carry us early. And then early, we didn't have any of our top guys. So it's just like Logan said, last 3 weeks, we've been a top 3 team in the best ball. It's just we were one of the worst teams the first 5 to 6 because we had no real stud giving us 50. If we got less like 90 to 100 points from a position over the course of a week, awesome for us. There were guys who were getting 50 points a game and giving you 150 at a position, no problem. And our guys who were supposed to do that were not available.
There was, I think, 3 times this season I went back and looked where Mathurin and Segun were our best output performers.
Yep.
Which would have been fantastic if they were like, your fourth.
If they were like third, and then we're also getting great
Right.
Lillard numbers and great Ingram numbers.
Which is how we built that team. It's just whenever we needed our studs to be there, it just like we couldn't even get the nail.
We had injury made it so we had no studs.
Yeah.
So, and that hurts you. That just hurts you.
And I do have to apologize. We weren't able to do a live lineup show. It was just one of those weeks where we had a lot of different personal things going on at different times, and it was just one of those times where we couldn't come together for you guys live. And now we did build one kind of haphazardly the day of, where Donnie couldn't participate in full. I tried to channel my inner Donnie a bit when it came to what he would do, and this is what we came up with. None of my lineups cashed for this week, but I did have a profitable NFL slate because I diversified and went to the sports book. I found some head-to-head. I cashed a Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown, which honestly was
that's like a lock.
Yeah, and you knew if the 49ers were going to score, it'd be through him, and especially once Brock Purdy got injured, it was Christian McCaffrey's show. And he put on a show, by the way. So, but that's my point. It's like whether you try best ball. I mean, I've already made my best ball money up from playing daily NBA. So, like, you want to take your pot of money and you want to spread it to as many gardens as you can, Spread the seeds, a few dollars here, a few dollars here. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I think this week kind of proves that with 2 different sports. What were some of your takeaways? Not even this lineup, just like DFS. Try to keep it DFS related as we kind of break down some of these players. Like, anyone surprise you?
I was higher on a Sky Moore. Obviously we didn't get to talk much about it. I was thinking more Sky Moore. I think I said it in our show before, like with the injuries they had at receiver. Sky Moore and Mahomes' injury, he was getting play. So I assumed he would be minimum. I still don't know if he was. And
he
was basically minimum, but I agree with you on that. But with Hardman back in, that was what, like, Sky Moore was playing because they didn't have their receivers.
Right. And Hardman got hurt. And also, I want to mention
Tony also got hurt. And, like, that was crazy to lose 3 wide receivers in that game.
Yeah.
And I was also much higher on Kelsey than you guys. So
I had Kelsey. Yeah, I was not heavy on Kelsey, but, like, I had a little bit of him in my personal lineups, but
I still don't like the way the Kelsey lineup worked out. I can maybe pull that up because it's probably one of the top lineups, but I don't think I would have. I mean, some of the stuff you had to do, because like Deebo Samuel failed, you had to play like a P. Ryan to play Kelsey, and that's exactly what happened here.
He played P. Ryan. He played double tight end with Hurst. He punted defense.
But, like, look at this lineup, though. You play P. Ryan. That's good because he catches some passes. Like, I could see that.
You played you played a full Cincinnati stack. P. Ryan, Chase, Higgins, Hurst. But then you went Mahomes, Scantling, like Kelsey.
He got very lucky with Scantling because
he basically just did a full-on KC Cincinnati game stack and found out a way to plug in chalky Christian McCaffrey.
Let's be honest, that rushing touchdown from P. Ryan, like that easily could have went to Mixon as well. So
that could have easily went to Mixon, right? No, but I don't think Valdez-Scantling even comes close. I mean, he obviously doesn't come close to 8 targets if all those wide receivers don't get hurt. Because remember, Tony got hurt on a touchdown pass. like I believe it was a touchdown he dropped, and he tried to make a cut and hurt his knee. And then Juju also got hurt in that game. Like they lost so many weapons in that game. And I think Scantling might have caught or might have had 8 of his targets, mostly in the second half. I want to say 6 of the 8 were in the second half.
Well, and like they were all just breakdowns by Cincinnati's defense,
Right.
or they just allowed a deep ball. Like I know Scantling's a deep ball guy, but to not get the pressure, like I guess the pressure was kind of there. Mahomes was getting hit still,
Right.
but they didn't get enough pressure on Mahomes when he had a bad ankle. I don't know.
Well, here's an example of that, and I'll let you get in here too. I think this was a failure game for Travis Kelce. In reality, I think this is the first time Travis Kelce has been under 9 targets or 80 yards in like the last 7 weeks. Like he's been either over 80 yards or 9 catches. And so technically he failed, but given the small slate, he was the guy you needed because his ownership and then the safety and the floor.
He was just one of like 4 dudes who actually hit 20.
Right, exactly.
Like, and the lineup we're looking at that's in first, it's missing one of those guys. Like, to be honest, Chase and probably Pirine should have been Miles Sanders.
Yep, I found it for you.
Yeah,
that's most people's lineup right there, the $30 one.
Yeah, Chase and Pirine should have been Miles Sanders and then some other receiver, whether it was. I think the best one to have actually was like Devonta Smith, maybe, or no, AJ Brown, something like that.
It wasn't AJ Brown.
Well, no, like none. Like I'm not talking about a guy who did anything more than like maybe 9 points.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
like again, there were only like 4 dudes who got to close to 20. This lineup has them minus Kelce. Like it has Kelce too. I'm trying to think. There was one guy from the early game that I'm forgetting that also got there.
Well, anybody
who it was.
Anybody who went heavy for a San Francisco pass game got completely, screwed. Like there was so
was anyone who went heavy with the Philly pass game. Like the surprising part of that game was it went through the run game, which shouldn't be surprising because that's what Philly's going to do. But the matchups where they should have been able to exploit should have been at wide receiver.
Yeah,
this is wild. These points for receivers.
Yeah, see, you got 2 guys above 20. One of them's Marvez Scantling. Then Chase. Then like everyone else is at 6, and AJ Brown was the best one.
Yeah, Boyd was your best cheap wide receiver because you knew he'd be on the field. Like he's the most viable cheap guy.
Yep.
Where it's like,
and all the tight ends were the same except Kelce, who pulled away.
Right.
But even then, like Wilcox was a good play this week.
Well, he was viable minimum, and he got points. And then but really, like you needed one of the 4 main dudes, and really you needed like a Kelce Hurst because that's the value ones.
Right, but to Donnie's point, that's what we're going to have to do in the Super Bowl, and that's why I want to review it. Not to say like, oh, we made a mistake or that guy was silly. We got to do something a little bit different this week. Yeah, or not this week, but for the Super Bowl. If you're going to play it, you got to be smart and know like where the consistency is, whether that's a Chase or that's a Travis Kelce on this slate. Like those are your consistent. They're going to see targets, and then you got to be willing to take a Noah Gray, or you take a chance on a Sky Moore, or the high upside, boom or bust guys. Like that's how you have to build these showdown slates, especially. When they're so condensed this way.
Can you just go to all for a second?
Yeah.
I will say though, with wow, the quarterbacks were even bad.
Yeah.
This is a weird week. I think the Super Bowl is like it's gonna be if it's a blowout, Mahomes is gonna throw a lot and probably get points, which is gonna lead to some Kelce points or a receiver on it. And I don't know if Philly's going to be able to run away with it, but if they do, that could completely change the game anyway.
Donnie, I got Jalen Hurts I think the Chiefs are going to win. They actually have the Chiefs to lose right now in DraftKings, so I
Yeah,
got
they
it
do.
early. So I got the Chiefs at plus 105, and I paired it with a parlay a couple different ways. But one of my favorite parlays is to pair the Chiefs to win with Jalen Hurts passing yards over, and I got his passing yards prop at 224 passing yards at 100 plus 120. Because I just even if they lose or the game is close, Patrick Mahomes is going to make Jalen Hurts throw the ball, or at least play.
See that's the weird part, because like yes, Philly wants to run, and Casey's going to try so I agree with you there, but the fantasy the numbers, the metrics would say the best thing for Kansas City to do is to run the ball because you can do that against Philly. And the best thing for Philly to do is to throw because Kansas City gives up points to wide receivers. So that's I agree that that's probably what they're going to do, but I don't know if that's the right thing to do.
But here's the thing. Philly, I can trust Philly to throw the ball in some scenario. I don't know. I don't believe I can trust Kansas City to run the ball at all. I think Mahomes will be 100%, as close to 100% as you can expect anyone to be at this point of the season come Super Bowl time. I'm not worried about that ankle at all. He looked a little hobbled, not, ridiculously. Obviously, he still came out and was able to beat the Bengals. He was fine enough.
I think he was more fine than he was, and I think some of that was theatrics. Because he was, I think he was placating to the referees for calls and making sure they protected him in that moment. Because I think he knew if I can get through this game, I have 2 weeks to rest.
Well, I would say that he actually was. It's a high ankle sprain. Those things are going to hurt.
He was hurt, but I'm saying he dramatized it.
I don't know. I think he might have actually just been really hurt.
Oh. See, I don't think it was a bad thing. Maybe you're right. He was really hurt, and it's still good. I love the fact that he dramatized it the way he did because he's basically telling the referees every time he does that, protect me, because he knew that the Super Bowl comes up in 2 weeks, and then he's prime and ready to go. I thought it was a smart move, very strategic. Gov, any thoughts from the game? As far as a forecast for maybe the Super Bowl matchup?
I honestly, this was the worst possible scenario Super Bowl for me. I so wanted it the absolute opposite. I wanted to see San Fran, Cincinnati, but
I think these are the two.
So I don't even know how to think about this right now. I haven't put too much thought into it, but I have 2 weeks to think about it. I did see that the first day, Vegas opened with, I believe, Kansas City favored.
Yeah,
and it has already been bet to Eagles as the favorite.
I follow this sports book called what is it called? It's called the Hammer Betting Network with Rob Perzola, and Rob does also some work with Pat Mayo for you people that might listen to Pat Mayo. And Rob was saying that wait till Tuesday or Wednesday. And he's like, I guarantee you the Chiefs will be favored, and that's when you should bet them. Because if you wait the week of, the numbers are just going to be a pick 'em. It's not going to be good. But if you want the Chiefs, bet them on Tuesday or Wednesday. If you want the Eagles, do it right after the game. And he was spot on.
I will say, with the Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl, I'm not a fan of all these storylines, Kelsey, but
I was going to mention that too, Donnie. Go ahead.
I don't like putting that narrative into it. I don't think Kelsey versus Kelsey really matters. They're on completely different sides of the ball. They're not going to be on the field together. They're both great players who are going to show out anyway. I don't see.
I disagree on that one a bit, just because of the magnitude of the Super Bowl, and because Travis not Travis. Why am I blanking on his name?
Jason.
I'm like such a noob. Yeah, Jason. I think Jason might retire after this game. So you got like it's all not to do with football, but you got both families probably coming to this game. They probably have more family obligation type tickets than you could ever imagine. Because like, think about if you were part of that family. Like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and you can't tell me that doesn't weigh on their minds at least a little.
But we can both agree that they're both going to show out as some of the best players in the league anyway. Like,
yeah, but don't you think that plays on their psyche? Like most of the time, I would tell you, like I remember Corey Fuller played like Corey Fuller from the Lions played like his brother Kyle from the Bears, and it was like a week 6 game, on Fox. No one watched it, but it was a big deal for that family. But now we're talking about 2 players that are dominant at their positions. They've been dominant for years. This is a Super Bowl, this is the highest honor. And you already have like crazy ticket demands already. I can just imagine like the 3rd and 4th cousins are asking for tickets. Like I do think it's going to play a bit on their mentals a little bit.
I just...
The commercial element of it is going to get goofy, though. I do agree with you, Donnie. Like the whole...
But Kelsey, both of them, the Kelseys, are both such clowns, like in a good way. They're fun to be around. They're gonna have their fun with it. So it is what it is. Also, the Andy Reid story. That one I buy into. I buy into the Andy Reid story.
Will Andy Reid finally bring Philadelphia a Super Bowl?
Man.
Here's what I was gonna do. Actually,
I like the joke of. Sorry, before you go, my favorite joke right now is the winner of this game will have more wins in that stadium than the Arizona Cardinals did this year. That's my favorite one.
I like that. I like that kind of stuff because, like, this is where we get those like food fighting, golden nugget kind of back and forth. Though this is what this week is for. Next week, when we do a podcast, we can get deeper into some of the more serious topics. But like this is where you want to go to your sports book. You want to look at the novelty props. You want to do some of this stuff, and we'll do that to wrap up the show a bit if you guys want. One thing I was going to mention that we hit on it briefly, so let's just turn it into a fun little game. What's the storyline that's driving you the most crazy? If I said rank the storyline we're going to hear the most about by the time the Super Bowl comes, you'll be nauseous over. How would it go? In what order for you guys?
I kind of already hit on it. Kelsey versus Kelsey, I think. I'm already kind of bored. Unless they make it fun during media week, which they will, I assume. But I think the jokes are going to get really old really quick.
Yeah. Gov, what's the one narrative storyline you can't stand already?
So if Mahomes wins, he's the new GOAT, right?
Oh.
Greatest fuck everyone. It's Mahomes versus the field, Mahomes is gonna win because fuck. Right? That's gonna suck to hear that if he wins.
He's gonna be able to catch up.
He'll have 2 rings and 3 Super Bowls in 6 years. He'll be on fucking. He's on world record pace right now. For speed, he's trying to speed run and not do it in 20 years like Brady did. He's on world record pace right now.
Let's be honest, though. He has a chance to be the greatest quarterback ever.
Oh yeah, but that narrative is going to be really strong once he gets, because this is the first threshold. Honestly, is 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, well,
there's a lot of guys with 2. There's a lot of decent guys with 2 who are going to be in the Hall of Fame. Roethlisberger, Manning, Russ, there's a lot of...
Just to clarify, Eli, but...
Peyton has 2 as well.
Yeah, but he's a lot better than,
Yeah, but he also has Peyton has a different story, but this is the first threshold. It's threshold 1, do you have a Super Bowl win? Threshold 2, do you have any records? Threshold 3, do you have 2 Super Bowl rings? Threshold 4, do you have any outs? Do you have more than 2 Super Bowl rings and records? And like those are the top guys. Are the guys who like they held a record at some point for a while, and they have multiple Super Bowl rings. That's why you talk about Montana. But Montana didn't have enough records. Brady's got longevity records he's going to hold for a while. It's going to give him that. But Mahomes has all the ability to break those, and he's young. It's so early. And
Well,
I don't want to hear all this stuff happening once he wins, because I think they do beat Philadelphia. I haven't been a fan of Philly. I didn't want them to win against San Fran. That's just a bias, but ugh.
My thing about that is like Mahomes really could catch up, but he really needs some memorable moments too, where like obviously those will come, I'd hope anyway. Like it's going to be hard to match the glorification of like a 28-3. All
I don't think he does because like.
Oh yeah, Brady has a lot of those moments. I'll give you that.
He does, but he also has a lot of tarnished moments too.
Yeah, I think like if Mahomes is able to get to 4 or 5 by the end of this massive contract they gave him, that looked like there's no way this contract. Like honestly, when he first got it, it looked like there's no way this contract doesn't fail. Like I don't know how they gave him a contract like you have to play like the greatest quarterback of all time to pay this off, and he's honestly paying it off, even with them not having the money to pay a Tyreek Hill with this contract.
Yeah,
like it's crazy.
I'm not even saying it is like I'm not the biggest Tom Brady fan, but like you can't deny what he's done on the field. But like Spygate was legit. Like you could say Deflategate was a witch hunt, but Spygate was legit. That is going to tarnish his legacy.
I think it will, but I think most of the blame is Belichick's side. Like I think that's how it's looked at more so. Legacy wise
now because he hasn't retired, but I'm telling you, everyone on that team is like when they're retired. I think we'll look back, and then people are going to look back at that Giant how they got beat by the Giants as Tom Brady's worst like physical like football performance. Like how do you let that happen? So as exciting as the Falcons' comeback was, he still got that Giants. Because you had Randy Moss at you had undefeated, So I don't think now he is probably the best quarterback currently, but I don't even like doing that kind of stuff until they retire. Like, what if Patrick Mahomes wins the next 5 Super Bowls?
We have no idea what Mahomes can do. The magnitude of like what it would take to even get in the conversation is so ridiculous that I can't project it at this point anyway.
I can project it, but I don't think it's as ridiculous as you think. Just because I guess I ding Tom Brady more for some of the stuff when you're putting it on Bill Belichick. But like,
I'm on the whole. I Deflategate's stupidity, and like the very next year, the Jets had a Deflategate, and nobody heard about it.
They did. Now, I will say, because we were going to talk about different sports and just kind of tell you guys where this channel is headed after football. And, like, we know a lot of sports. And I think this is like the Bill Russell argument. It's like you could make an argument that Bill Russell is the best NBA player ever. You could make the argument it's LeBron James if you wanted to. Like, there are arguments to be made, and I think that is the beautiful thing about sports. I hate it when we try to narrow it down to one guy, because then we get talking about narratives and we get talking about eras, and they're just different.
Well, I think it's much easier to like say, okay, here's your Mount Rushmore, than say, here's my greatest ever. Like,
that true. Giving you guys like a top 4 or top 5 is a lot. Like it is a lot easier, but yeah,
it's a lot easier. But I still don't like it. Like I don't like any kind of ranking. I wish we could just say, and I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan either. That's why I want to bring this point up. I just wish we could say LeBron James is great, Kobe is great, Tim Duncan great, Patrick Mahomes great. Like why do we have to be like? Well, Patrick, he's 2, and Tom Brady's 1, and Aaron Rodgers, even though he doesn't have the Super Bowls, had probably the most talent of all 3 of them, so therefore he's 5, and Like I just
Yeah.
don't like the dominoes that we do.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because then, it's almost like when I collected sports cards as a kid. It's like the top 50 greatest players in the NBA. So you're telling me 51's not great? Like, are you telling me one is so much better than 51 that like 51 doesn't even deserve to be in this pack? And it's like, where do we come up with this albatross kind of number to be like, oh, that's a cutoff, 50 greatest players or 30 greatest players or top 5? To me, the cutoff makes the ranking even worse, if that makes sense. I don't even know if I'm making sense, but if you guys are following me, that's what I'm saying. Like, I hate the cutoff.
My thing is like we can say top 10. Okay, yeah, there's top 10, but the list is ever expanding. Like the list is not going to stop expanding anytime soon. So
Right.
You'd think it would expand with, but you know.
But why do you need to expand? Like, I'm just saying, like, if you make a sourdough bread, you make it different than if you make a whole wheat bread. It's just different ingredients. And so, like, I'm okay saying, hey, in the modern era, these guys were great. I just don't like the whole ranking system. Did you guys want to hit on any other topics before I kind of move on? I kind of had some kind of fun, goofy topics, and then we can get out of here tonight and keep it nice and condensed.
Oh, you can move on with me. I'm good right now.
Okay, so let's do this. We said we were going to do this. Let's talk about some of these coaching carousels, some of the breaking news we got, and how you think it will affect fantasy or just like even your traditional season-long fantasy. Sean Payton to the Denver Broncos, D'Amico Ryans to the Texans, who I think will be the first player coach hired this season, similar to Dan Campbell, played for the team, now coach for the team. I always like that kind of stuff. I think there's extra passion there.
Well, I don't want to deep dive too much into this stuff now because there's going to be more hires and stuff.
Yeah, just quick hitters, just like even Frank Wright to the Panthers. Man, I thought it was a good.
I love
Frank Wright and that. The more I think about that, it's like at least we got an offensive guy, which makes it more likely that we will be promoting Luke up through the defense towards defensive coordinator over the next few years.
Not only that,
sort of how D'Amico Ryans is.
Not only that, but he loves to run the ball. He loves the offensive line, and he loves defensive ends. And that's exactly how the Panthers are built. They got Burns, who I think is a hybrid kind of defensive end linebacker, who he'll just turn into his like Swiss Army knife. You already have a heavy run game, a blue collar team, and I just think like he's got the D line too, which he had great success with the Colts in his early days. I think that was just a smart hire.
Yeah. So I loved that Frank Wright hire. I love Frank Wright as a coach. I expect him to be swooped up pretty quick. Panthers, I think, made a great decision.
To your point, though, Donnie, I just want to quick hitters because I did want to kind of do a podcast where we just go through off-season moves.
Right.
And one of those episodes, I was going to break it onto episodes. I was going to go skill positions and that kind of thing.
Okay, I'll go quick. I can't believe it. I'm going to have to draft Russ and the Broncos in my best ball teams again, aren't I? God damn it.
I mean, it makes sense.
Like if it was Hackett, Sean Payton will fix that.
Well, my thing with Sean Payton is why? You had so many teams to pick from calling your name, and you chose Russell Wilson after his worst year, and even if he is fine, he doesn't have that long left anyways. Why?
We haven't talked about my favorite hire. Are you ready? Kellen Moore to the Chargers.
That was a beautiful hire. I can't.
Yeah, that actually is solid. Yeah.
Well, my personal favorite hire is Bill O'Brien to the Patriots. I don't even love Bill O'Brien that much, but as long as it's not Patricia and there's an offensive coordinator back in New England.
And one that actually proved that he can actually move an NFL offense too.
Right. I mean, and maybe he can convince Belichick to keep receivers or get a big name receiver. I think that pretty much 100%. Now, I didn't think it was ever going to happen anyway, but that 100% kills Hopkins to the Patriots. Finally, I was sick of hearing that.
I don't think it does.
Oh, but Hopkins hates Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, that I would agree with. Like, Hopkins isn't going to want to sign there anymore. Now I could see Hopkins going to like Green Bay if Green Bay were to make a move.
Yeah,
I don't like to try to appease Rodgers. Like, okay, here we go. I'm going to give you one receiver to go with the guys you just got good with last year, and this is going to be your run year. Unless they trade Rodgers and go with Jordan Love.
The rumor is they really want to move Rodgers. Also, the Chargers, and I think the Bills also, are $20 million over the cap. Big side on the Chargers, though. The Chargers save $22 million if they get rid of Mac.
Yeah,
so that's something to look forward to this offseason. Where do the Bills go with their money? Maybe it is Diggs out the door because of that.
Now, I had heard Hopkins to the Chargers is the likely move that no one.
I don't know. Well, they can't afford it right now, so I don't. I know caps always are like, well, they can't afford it. Then all of a sudden they get $30 million in cap.
I was about to say, there's a team with cap space that could sign Hopkins. You think he'd want to play with the perv again?
Oh no!
Let Cleveland sign him. Have Hopkins and Amari.
I don't think that they'd want him. He'd want that anyway.
He'd be fine with that. Amari could always play the left side, maybe a little bit out of the slot. Equals Jones.
True.
You know, Deshaun and Hopkins have a little bit of a rapport. They have played together.
I just we don't know how well friends they are, how they feel about each other after the whole situation, but Hopkins kind of seems like that class act guy that doesn't want to be associated with that. Like,
I could see that. I'm not sure of a good landing place for Hopkins though, unless he just takes less money and signs with whoever wins here.
Speaking of taking less money to sign with whoever wins, Odell sweepstakes are going to be right back open next year. So.
You're right. The Cleveland's just waiting to sign Will Fuller once they know he's off the steroids.
The two teams I had heard for Hopkins were the Chargers and Vikings.
Vikings would be so nice.
Oh, he could replace Thielen on the other side of Jefferson. That would rock. That, and you'd still have Hawkinson. That would be upsetting.
Yeah, I heard he's like a football historian, like he pays a lot of attention to that. So I had heard that he'd be interested.
Jerry would go over the salary cap to sign him in Dallas. Put him on the other side of CD.
Yeah. Well, I guess Kellen Moore was a big pusher of that. He was trying to get that to happen. Like even before I had heard that they were trying to even trade for him when he was suspended. So it's interesting.
Like it's hard to think about where Hopkins could go just because he would fit well on almost any team.
Oh yeah, no, he's a great receiver. He's quiet.
Yeah, that's the thing. The only teams that I can think of that wouldn't really need him are the ones that already have two premium receivers. Like, I don't think Philly would need him with A.J. Brown and Devonta. I don't think Seattle would need him with DK and Lockett. I don't think Tampa would need him with Godwin and Evans.
Yeah.
Like other than those kind of teams, like I don't even think the Chargers need him with Keenan and Mike Williams. That's the real problem. Dallas sort of needed him. The Giants could love him. Oh my God, if he went to the Giants. He could be their Stephon Diggs. Like, that would just work for them. Washington, put him on the other side of Terry McLaurin.
Yeah. Which would allow Terry to go into the slot more, which is probably where he would eat the best.
Is Calvin Ridley ever going to come back to the NFL?
Next year, yeah. He's playing next year. He was suspended all this year.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say, so we still have Calvin Ridley.
He's on the Jags with Kirk.
Oh, I forgot they signed him. Yeah, so there's a team that could have used Hopkins, but Kirk and Ridley and the Joneses is going to be fine.
No. if they keep Evan Ingram too, like they don't need another weapon.
No,
like,
their offense will be perfect. You just draft defense and the offensive line and defensive line on that.
Yeah.
It's like that. If I'm the Jags, I draft offensive and defensive line, and I know we're good.
I do think if I saw a prop bet for Hopkins to go like into division, I would say the NFC North would be a fun place to bet it because I could even see the Lions or the Bears are a heavy wide receiver team. Not that he would want to go there, but like, and obviously the two favorites would be the Packers and the Vikings. I think. Like,
man,
there was a prop like that.
Can we take a timeout and salivate about Amon-Ra and DeAndre Hopkins?
Does he like? I was about to say, does he want to play in a dome? Does that matter? Because that would make Detroit
in Houston.
Yes, yeah. I know, but he sort of did Arizona.
Yeah.
Was the outside of so like if he likes domes, then I think that that sort of solidifies either Minnesota or Detroit from the NFC.
Right. And then you got the Packers who need it. So like if you guys saw a prop like that, you should take it. And that's kind of the transition. There's like a lot of good novelty props. Now, speaking of novelty, I do think the Denver Broncos gave up too much to get Sean Payton, but I think Sean Payton was the best coach on the market. And if you really think you can turn Russell around, you go and get it.
That's the thing. That was what I was going to bring up earlier. The reason that the Broncos went to get Peyton is because of his price tag. New Orleans had his rights. They were asking for all of this to be able to sign Sean Payton. The only teams there weren't a lot of teams that could pay that. Denver could, and they did to get a better coach.
And they did. Exactly. See, I love Sean Payton as a coach. I think he would be in terms of active coaches that you could hire, he'd be on my top 5 list easy. He might be number 1.
I mean, how many coaches are better than him in the league? How many teams, if he said I want to be there, would just say, okay, I'll fire my head coach and I'll take Peyton because I really want Peyton. I think there's a lot that would do that if they did that hush-hush behind the doors.
Think about this too, Donnie, is maybe Sean Payton was better than Drew Brees because Sean Payton had success without Drew Brees. Drew Brees didn't even have success in the booth without Sean Payton. And then Sean Payton goes to Fox and it was like, oh yeah, you couldn't kick it over here with NBC. Let me go to Fox for a year, Drew. I'll show you how to be an analyst. It's kind of weird. I'm starting to think maybe Sean Payton is just that big of a mastermind, dude. Truly.
I don't know if he wants to coach another 10 years, I don't get why he goes to Denver at all. That's just where I'm at with that. Well,
I think Denver has proven they can pony up, pun intended. But so that's why I don't think that's a bad fit. And honestly, outside of Kansas City, I don't think that division's that great.
Well, also another thing with that is I feel like he's going to be good with coaching. He has that mile-high home field advantage. I feel like he's going to take a lot of advantage of that more so than a lot of coaches would. He's a smart coach. He loves to get the ball in the air. That's going to be interesting with Russell Wilson offense in Mile High. They might air the ball out real nice next year, but it's all up to Russ at this point.
I got one other topic I want to hit on, and then we can just do some rapid fire, and you guys can give your closing thoughts. I want to say I don't know how much Gov and Donnie will commit to it, but I just love football. I love that the XFL and the USFL are going to be at NBC and some of these major markets. There's not a whole lot of the sports I would like to follow. And I do think there'll be a huge gambling edge, especially in the first 3 to 4 weeks. And not a lot of people are going to cover it. So I will do a deep dive into the XFL because that will be on ESPN. And it'll just be a fun thing for me to follow, and the USFL. It might just be me. It might be a different co-host if these guys don't want to devote that much time to it, if they want to get away from football. But I'm just geared up for the opportunity that it offers as a gambling platform. But we all love the NBA here. We don't talk about it enough. We did the best ball. We did it in the beginning to kind of prime you for this conversation. We want to at least probably do at least once a week an NBA show because like we follow the NBA. I have an NBA League Pass, so I probably follow the NBA maybe more than football. And funny enough, people don't realize that I've been an NBA fan since I was 9. I only started following football when I was like 16 or 15. So like I'm a much bigger NBA fan than I am NFL, even though that's where this kind of podcast grew from.
Speaking of NBA, real quick, LeBron just passed Mark Jackson and Steve Nash in assist. He's 4th all time.
Did he?
Looking like he might triple double too. Needs 2 rebounds.
Yeah, I'm trying to get off.
LaMelo is nuking the slate too. He could almost triple double.
Nice. I'm a big fan of LaMelo. That's also why I'm trying to get off of here a little bit earlier because I want to get back to watching the Lakers game.
Yep, and Jamal Murray is in, so I got news to deal with. But yep.
Anything else you guys want to hit on before we get on here, or should we just react to news and give the people our best show next week?
No, I feel like do we want to commit to a show live or for later this week since there's no lineup to prepare for?
Let's not commit to it, but let's try to make something happen, whether that's some kind of...
I should be available, so we'll see what we can do.
Right. Whether that's video content, whether that's me writing an article, I would like to do something kind of special for the people that have followed us and see if we can grow the brand. So we'll do something. I don't know what that something is, but we'll definitely give the people some more content going forward. But all right, guys. Donnie, any last words?
No, that's it for me.
You got anything?
Woo. Vooch, you son of a bitch. Have a good night, everyone. Honestly. Oh.
That's a good way to end because Vooch always goes under the radar. So he got some shine on this podcast. I don't know.
Something told me in this matchup against the Clippers, it's like, this is a not great matchup. This is where Vooch is going to play well, isn't it?
Man,
yeah, because it's not a bad. It's like middle of the pack.
Yeah,
but
Bruce has always been one of my favorites, but he's been stuck in a small market. So that's a perfect way to wrap up this podcast because I feel like right now, at this point in our career, at this point in the podcast's lifespan, we're kind of that small market team, but we're consistent and we keep growing and growing and growing. So just like Vooch, hopefully we can be a bad son of a bitch someday too. Good night, guys.
Peace out, everyone.